Hello, and welcome to Fantasy Wildcard Rewind. I'll be your host for the evening, Hannah, and as usual, I'm joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Mags and Paul, and we're here and we're ready to rewind week 11.
I just wanna rewind to when we were young at heart. Back to all those good times. Take me back to the start.
So another Super Sunday has come and gone. I can't believe we're kind of nearly over week 11 now. How have your weeks been? How's yours, Paul?
Oh, it's been a good week, to be fair. It's been a good week. I want some money. I know. It's been a good week. It's been a good week, to be fair. One thing that I was going to say, because I seen it was a picture that the NFL have put all 32 teams and they've given them a team from the World Cup. I don't know if you've seen it. And I was like, oh, I'm quite keen for this. I'm quite keen to see, should we pick our team and who we've got and stuff like that. And then I looked and they've given the Arizona Cardinals Qatar. And I thought, yeah, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. So I thought, no, we'll leave this one where it is. Part of that is it's been a wicked week, to be fair.
That's pretty harsh, making the Cardinals Qatar, isn't it, really? But
Awful.
Hey, how about your week, Mags?
Yeah, great week so far. Anyway, love the games at the weekend, especially game of the week, which we'll get to in a little bit, I'm sure. And yeah, love the World Cup has kicked off as well, so getting to watch all of the sport at the minute. So it's been absolutely great. How about you, Hannah? All good?
Yep, all good. I've just started a new job, so I'm just trying to get into that. I'm a commuter nowadays, and I'm knackered all the time, basically. I don't have kids, but I feel like it's probably just as bad. I think people with kids will tell me that it's not true at all, but I'm going to hold that. So anyway, shall we kick off with our games this week? So let's kick off with you, Paul, in your first game, which was the Jets versus the Pats. What a classic. You actually had the Pats to win, which was correct. Excellent work. But you did say that Zach Wilson would throw for more yards, which unfortunately with this game was incorrect, as he only threw for 77 total yards. And I'm pretty sure in the second half it was a total of 2 yards. Whereas
Wow.
Mac did manage to throw 246 yards, but the game only ended 10-3. So go on, Paul, tell us all about it.
So do you not think that this is like the most Jets thing ever? Lose this game the way that they lost it, okay? They did so well on the defensive side of the ball to limit the Patriots all game. You know, every time, I'm pretty sure every time Red Zone went to that game, either Ramondre Stevens or Damian Harris looked like they were running and it looked like they were scorching the earth. But actually, if you look at their stats, they didn't actually do that great. But it just seemed like every time it was like, oh, the Red Zone, it was like Damian Harris has just broken through everyone and he's got a first down and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll have a look at his stats. And I was like, yeah, he's not really doing that well. It was kind of like strange. And then all of a sudden you were like, oh, this is I wouldn't say a boring game as such, but it wasn't one that set the world alight. And then it was like, 42 seconds left on the clock, and the Jets were punting it downfield, and I think the Jets defense or the special team just went to sleep.
Yeah,
they just went. Was that it? Is that the end of the game? And then it just all you need to, any of these punt returners, I know sometimes they only get a few yards and stuff, but actually they're all superb at what they do, and they just need that one slight little opening and they'll punish you, and that's what they did. And it was just, I was just like, this is just such a Jets thing to do. Another thing that I noticed in this game is Zach Wilson is not that good, to be honest. And I do feel it's the O-line has to take some form of responsibility here. The amount of times they were just getting to him and he had no time to do anything. The poor bloke, like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, look at Justin Fields. His O-line's really bad, and yet somehow he gets running, he gets moving, and he actually survives. But I just think Wilson is. I don't know, and I don't know if they're going to get one of these top QBs or whether they trade up to get one of these top QBs or something. I don't know. But the Jets are nearly there. They're nearly a team that actually could spark fear in people's eyes. So they're nearly there. But one person I have to mention is Matt Judon. Is it Judon? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
That guy is having himself a season. Okay. And I'm just going to ask you a quick question. Can you guess how many sacks he has on the season? Anyone want to take a guess?
I'm going to go. I think this is going to be way over, but I'm going to say 12.
Wow. I was going to say like 8.
Well, you've ruined my game, Hannah, because it's exactly 12.
What do I win?
It's exact. I was like, "Oh, that's impressive," and you've just gone, "Yeah, 12." Well,
Wow.
you read the show sheet and you went and looked, didn't you? So, tell the truth. You definitely did. But yeah, I thought, wow, he's like, what we just done, week 11, and he's 12 sacks in the season.
That's amazing,
mate. The guy's having a great season. But all in all, it was a pretty mundane game, to be honest.
Did you see Zach Wilson after this said, do you feel like you let your defense decide? And he was like, no. One word answer, no.
Did you see Garrett Wilson?
Yes.
He was like, this is not good enough. F this, F that.
Yes.
I hope people in the building are listening to this or take note.
Yeah, I think of the three of us, I was kind of the highest on Zach Wilson, but a couple of things during this game and post this game, I'm like, oh, actually, this is not looking good. That response from him and his teammates is not what you want. And yeah,
I've always wanted him to do well.
Yeah,
I've always wanted him to do well, and when they beat the Bills, I thought, oh, this is it. These guys to the moon. You know what I mean? And then it just feels like reality. Reality has come there, and Bill Belichick has served up a plate of reality for him and gone, mate, this is what's going to happen. And I think the Jets have got some work to do. I think they've still got some work to do. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Mags, let's get into your first game. You had the Bengals versus the Steelers. And the Bengals won 37-30. Wow, what a difference. I get 10-3 Jets Patriots, and you get Bengals Steelers 37-30.
Yeah.
But you predicted the Bengals to win, which was correct. And you also predicted TJ Watt under 1.5 sacks, which is correct. He had half a sack. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually surprised that TJ Watt didn't get 1.5 because every third play, Joe Burrow was on the floor in the third quarter. But actually, Joe Burrow had a really, really good game. He threw for over 350 yards, and what did he throw? Four touchdowns, and a lot of players had some really good games here for the Bengals. I thought that T. Higgins, people were kind of wondering, can he step up with Jamar Chase gone? And T. Higgins, by the way, T. Higgins has been in the weight room, right? That guy is kind of bulked up, and he seems like a bigger presence now than he was last year and certainly the year before. So he's looking like a big, threatening kind of Julio Jones-esque size receiver, which is really, really good for the Bengals because, T. Higgins is a huge weapon for them, especially with Chase away. But, Joe Burrow stepped up. I liked that he was kind of seeing what the Steelers were doing. So the Steelers would just kind of go blitz, 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 and Burrow would just get the ball out quick in the first two quarters. And, the Steelers just didn't really change up their game plan. When they did, that's when they started creeping into the game with, a nice Najee Harris touchdown. Although, I don't know if you guys seen it, Hannah, you definitely would have seen it. It was so obvious that Najee Harris was going to leap that I'm like, surely, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Eli Apple or not. Could have went, oh, hold on. He always jumps. This is what he does. Maybe hold back a bit and push him out. So I thought if I could have seen that coming, then I thought maybe that one could have been stopped. But a nice touchdown from Harris, but he's still not the guy that people said he was. I don't think, Najee. But overall, really got to be pleased with the output for the Bengals, Hannah, right? And one other note, actually, sorry, it's George Pickens. That guy's a superstar, right? He is so good. I can't wait to see that relationship with Pickett and Pickens develop. But they're not quite there yet, but the Bengals are definitely there, and they're starting to get rolling again, just like they did last season. So lots of positive things for that, Hannah, right?
Yeah, super happy because we don't have Chase at the moment. Obviously, Mixon went out with a concussion, and we still managed to do pretty well with our backups, which hopefully gives us hope for the second kind of leg of the season, because we've got a pretty rough schedule coming up, so we need to win these close games. But I think we have the talent to do so. We've just got to be consistent, and we just couldn't be that at the start of the season. So I'm hoping coming into this second half, we've had our bye, let's go on a roll, see if we can do what we did last year and get on a run.
Yeah, that'll be
with
nice
Samaje Perine.
Yes.
Who wouldn't want Samaje Perine? Let's face it, PTDs.
What a guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of people that stepped up in that game, you know what I mean? Samaje is just, what a guy.
That's the guy that you want on any fantasy roster, all right? Samaje, running back 1 overall, right? So, yeah, gotta love that win for the Bengals, and 2 nice points for me there. I was slightly worried for a bit, but, the Bengals, they pulled it out, and Joe Burrow really stepped up. So, yeah, pleased to get the points there. And it was nice to see your team do well, Hannah, as well, until any championship games that might come up later in the year with my Chiefs. I'm happy to support the Bengals. And your first game, Hannah, was the Rams up against the Saints, and you predicted the Saints win, which is absolutely correct. You predicted that Aaron Donald would get a sack, but he didn't. He didn't get a sack. He's only had 1 sack since week 6, and I want to almost whisper this, but is Aaron Donald taking a step backwards this year?
Oh, Mags, why?
No.
Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Aaron Donald. If you get to the age of like 28 in the NFL, Mags is like, are you washed?
No.
Is he washed?
No, this is not the same. This is not the same level of them. He's not washed by any means. I think he has taken a small step backward. Now, that being said, if teams think that and they decide to only put one guy up against Aaron Donald, he's going to absolutely murder them. But he's still being double teamed every single week, and he's just finding that a bit trickier to deal with than maybe perhaps in the past. He's still the best, guy at his position in the league, I think. But he's just finding it trickier to deal with those double or triple teams that teams are putting up against him at the minute. One-on-one coverage, he demolishes everyone in the league still. But yeah, he's just struggled a bit more this year. I don't know if you noticed that in that game, Hannah. Sorry, I'll let you go on talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't know what I was thinking, but I do wonder where they are, in this season. They're pretty much done, aren't they? And I wonder whether he's just thinking, what's the point of, going maximum effort every single time when we know we're not going to get into the playoffs to try and get that ring again. I'll conserve my energy maybe for next season. I don't know. I'd be interested to see this core group from LA are starting to look and feel a bit old, right? Like you said, Mags. We're seeing some kind of chinks in the armor here, and their whole premise was on these big superstars. So Ramsey, Donald, and they are just they're not looking great, are they? And I think they're not looking as good, and everyone around them's not playing as well. And so the whole thing's kind of falling apart. And as I say, I think because it's falling apart, they're probably not putting as much effort in, which makes it worse. And so it's just bad, right? And this game was just a tough watch because it was 2 bad teams playing not particularly great football. I must say, though, the beginning of this game was kind of the most comfortable that I thought I'd seen Stafford for some time. Like, he was throwing the ball quite well with reasonable ease, getting it to players. And I don't know whether that was not necessarily because Cup wasn't there, but sometimes I think because Cup is there and he knows that he's going to be likely open, like he feels like he has to force it to him. Whereas when he doesn't have that option, he has to open up that ball a bit more and try and spread it round. So whether that made a difference or not, I don't know. But they started kind of doing okay, and I thought, I'm going to lose this here. I've said the Saints, and I think LA could win it. And then obviously he went off with another concussion.
Yeah.
I was like, great, that's me winning, because they didn't even have the second stringer because he was out, Walford, so ended up with Bryce Perkins for the second half of the game. And I was like, well, they're not coming back from this, are they? I mean, my main thing from the Saints side was Chris Olave. Time and time again, he has shown this season that he is going to be an excellent NFL wide receiver. He makes some awesome plays, and I think he was a good choice for them. Now they did give up quite a lot for him, which might hamper them now because they're not quite in the position where they thought they were going to be. I don't think, they put a lot of their chips in the table, they gave a lot of their picks away, they have no money, and they're not going to make the playoffs most likely. So I think they're not quite where they thought they were going to be. I think they're going to struggle next season to kind of make everything work. But Olave, I think, is going to be a really nice kind of building block for them. As we both know, or we all know, neither of these teams are particularly good, and I can't see any of them being relevant in January, to be honest. But that was that game. Not particularly fun to watch, and I would say not too much exciting to talk about either. So let's swiftly move on. Paul, let's go to your second game. Here's another fun-filled one for you. The Panthers versus the Ravens. So you did predict a Ravens win, which was correct. They did manage to win 13-3. And you did predict that Baker would start at QB. And again, you were correct. Although how much he actually did that was good, not sure. But two for two, that's got to be, a good one for you there, Paul. Great work. So go on, tell us all of the excitement from this game.
I think I'm actually more excited about the fact that I got 3 out of 4 this week than I am about the games that you made me watch. You know what I mean?
You got as many picks right that the Panthers scored points. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, at the Jets.
Yeah.
In total, there was 29 points. 29 points in both of these games total.
Wow.
And you had 37-30 and 27-20, and I'm like, But Lamar Jackson, yet again, he got his team out of the shit, to be honest. It was a well-designed run play for the touchdown, and I've got to say, he executed it with perfection, to be fair to him. It's nice for him to have his safety blanket in Mark Andrews back. I think that's something that we see time and time again. And I think I know he did all right with what's his name, Isaiah Likely, but it was I feel like Lamar Jackson felt a bit more comfortable knowing that he had Mark Andrews there. On the Panthers side of the ball, the Panthers are massive head scratchers to me. I can't understand them. I can't work them out. Last week they looked dreadful and they looked like anyone could score loads of points past them. And then this week again, they're playing a good team like the Ravens, and until the second half, they held them. And it was like, I can't figure them out. Have they got a good defense? Have they got a bad defense? Have they got a defense that when they want to show up, they can show up? What is it? I can't figure the Panthers out. I don't know if they're tanking. I don't know if they're trying to win. I don't know. I genuinely can't figure them out. I literally sit there thinking, what are you doing? Are they trying to win? Are they trying to lose? I don't know. But I do have a question for both of you. And I know you two love questions and opening up the room because there wasn't much to talk about with this game. So you have a team in the Super Bowl, and you get to pick a rushing QB to lead your team at the Super Bowl. Okay. Which rushing QB do you pick? Jackson, Hurts, Fields, or Kyler Murray?
I mean, first of all, you're trying to sneak Kyler Murray in there, right?
He's a Russian QB. He's a Russian QB.
So, I mean, there's a high chance that one of those guys will actually be in the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. Obviously, I think.
Justin Fields of the Bears are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, they got more chance than the Cardinals. I think I would just take the player there who I think is the best player, and that's Lamar Jackson. I would take Lamar Jackson out of those guys.
Yeah, me too.
I think in agreement.
Yeah, 100%. I think his problem this season is lack of playmakers. You know, they just don't have anyone, do they? Mark Andrews, that's it. They lost their wide receiver that they were hoping was going to be their wide receiver one. And they just haven't got anyone he can chuck it to. But he can do it all, can't he? When he's in the zone, he's in the zone. I don't think I could pick anyone else over him.
So
go on, Paul. Tell us why you picked
Kyler. Oh, don't. I was going to say, don't be saying Kyler Murray now. Come on.
No. I think at the moment, I'd take Jalen Hurts, to be honest. I think Jalen Hurts is passing the ball really well.
Yep.
He's passing it like him and AJ Brown, just on and on and on, you know. And then he rushes it. He does the lot, you know what I mean? And I think Lamar Jackson has had Bateman there. He's had Mark Andrews, and he's still struggled with games. And he's done well with them, but he has struggled. I just think, to me, at the moment, going off this season, I think I'd take Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to keep talking because Hannah looks like she's ready to talk. And I'm just going to
You can't say Bateman is AJ Brown, can you? You cannot say Bateman is AJ Brown. You know, if you're looking at this, you have to say with the same team, no matter who you want to, put in your team, who would be the best. Like, if you want to say who do you think is the best team to go, then yes, Hurts and the Eagles, and probably that's where it would go. But if I was we all have the same, wide receivers, running backs, etc., and we plug our QB in, there's no way that you can say Hurts over Jackson. I don't think he's markedly improved for sure, but you've got to take Jackson.
I still think I'd take Hurts.
I think if you swap them over, I think the Eagles would be doing just as well, if not better, and the Ravens would be doing a lot worse. If you swap teams.
Yeah,
I think so.
I disagree. Really disagree.
If only we could find out, that'd be awesome.
I know.
Right?
Shall I ring up Roger and see what he can do to make this happen?
Yeah. That would be good. Thank you.
But yeah, let's move on. Mags, your second game was the Eagles versus the Colts, led by superstar Jalen Hurts. The Eagles win 17-16. You predicted an Eagles win, which was correct. And you also predicted Matt Ryan under 250 yards, which is also correct. He had 213.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about that one at the end. Because the Colts played really well. Jeff Saturday, I mean, I was trying to figure out I was like, Jeff Saturday, he looks so familiar. And obviously I knew him from like when he was playing, like back in his playing days, but I was like, why does he look familiar? I think he looks a bit like if Russell Crowe and Tom Hanks had a baby. It looks a bit like Jeff Saturday. Next time you see him, like you can see the features of both those guys, right? But I mean, he's come in and he's just kept it really, really simple. Like, who would have thought that giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor and running with it would have worked so well? I mean,
how many times have I said it? Give the ball to your best player.
So that's what they've done. Like, the Colts seem to be a kind of a smash you in the mouth team, and Jeff Saturday has just been like, right, let's go out and do that then. And that's what they went out and did. They went out and just absolutely just smashed it. and almost came away with the win. And one of my notes I typed whenever I was watching it, I was like, cool, the second I start believing in Jalen Hurts, this is what happens, right? Everything starts crumbling and they're going to lose 2 in a row. But no, they pulled it back. And I thought there's a few interesting things here that I picked up on. One is guy who isn't getting any kind of credit is Quez Watkins, but he's a real clutch player for the Eagles. He's a name that keeps coming up whenever the Eagles need a big play. Quez Watkins is often the name that you'll hear. So a bit of an unsung hero, I think, for the Eagles this year. And there was a brilliant passage of play where, Taylor lost the ball and then AJ Brown lost the ball like 3 plays later. And it was Franklin came in from the back and punched the ball out. And then another few plays later, there was, on commentary, they were praising Franklin for this. Hurts threw a real deep ball. It was Miles Sanders. And Franklin kind of just jumped on him for pass interference. And they were like, that's a brilliant call because Miles Sanders was about to house it. I'm not sure if I fully trust Miles Sanders to catch a deep ball. And Franklin was right behind him anyway. He could have tackled him. He could have punched the ball out. So I thought, oh, you're in trouble here because you basically just let him catch the ball by getting that pass interference. So I didn't think that was a good call, but that was a crazy couple of minutes. And then there was a weird, the Eagles tried to sneak it for 2.5 yards. I'm like, that's a pretty big sneak, and that didn't work. And then AJ Brown was down at the bottom completely free. They didn't use him, and it happened again. But it said Hurts just ran up the middle and scored. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't know anything because I was screaming at the television, trying to get the Eagles to win here because I wanted the points. But yeah, they just went out and they scored. But yeah, Eagles win again. But Indy are looking the best they've looked. Matt Ryan back in the team, definitely the right decision. Jeff Saturday playing smash mouth football, definitely what you want. He's got an outside chance. If he keeps doing well, he's got an outside chance of, maybe not getting that job full time, but maybe becoming the offensive coordinator or something like that, or just getting a better role on that team than what he had. But what I really wanted to talk about here is I wanted to kind of play devil's advocate a little, okay? Now, as a caveat before Kev White gets in my DMs, I don't necessarily believe this, but I thought I would just throw it out there, right? Is there a little bit of fool's gold here with the Philadelphia Eagles? Because they look pretty bad in this game in a lot of patches. They lost to the Commanders. Their other wins this year, they beat the Lions in game 1. They beat the Commanders when they had Carson Wentz, which was a disaster. They've beaten the Jags, the Cardinals, the Steelers, the Texans, the Colts, all teams that we have said are in some kind of crisis. Coming up next, they got the Packers and the Titans, more crisis teams. And then they've also got the Bears and the Saints to play. Bad teams, right? Teams that we've said all year are not very good. Now, they have beaten the Vikings and they have beaten the Cowboys, but that was the Cowboys with Cooper Rush playing. So they've played a lot of bad teams. They've not played, the Bills or the Dolphins or the Chiefs or Ravens or Bengals. They haven't even played a Bucks or a Seahawks. They've played a lot of very bad teams. So everybody does think that the Eagles are Super Bowl bound, but I actually think we'll know a lot more after they play the New York Giants twice and a full-strength Cowboys before the end of the year. What do you think? Am I crazy?
So, Hannah, it's just going to be me and you hosting the show from now on then, as soon as Kev drops the heads, So we're looking for a replacement for Mags. Please DM me at Fantasy Wildcard, please. Do you know what, mate? As much as a joke, you've made some very, very good points there.
Thank you.
I was going to bring up something similar about the Giants and how actually I feel like what we witnessed this week is the real Giants. And I think they've been a bit of fool's gold and but I've always said the Eagles, how you come back from a loss is a big thing. And they lost last week, and then they were here and they were down in this game and stuff like this, and all of a sudden the Colts are looking a better team, and they've got their superstar running backs getting the ball, but yet they still went out and they still grinded that win.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You know what I mean? You need a team that are going to grind them wins. And yeah, okay, they've beat some pretty terrible teams, but you can only play who's in front of you.
Yep.
And, you know, you can't knock them. They are 9-1 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they'll beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then you'll publicly apologize to Kev on air, you know.
You know what? I will actually. If the Eagles beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I will publicly apologize to Kev. That is absolutely fine. But I'll think it's something if it's the other way around. I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've just shown, haven't they, that they're not invincible. You know, I think potentially at the beginning of the season, you know, you were thinking, oh, they could do the whole season without dropping the game. They've got a very easy schedule. They're looking really good. But, you know, all teams do have either their Achilles heel or teams they struggle against that just kind of know how to kind of get to their strengths and push the buttons and, you know, expose them a bit more. And I think these last two teams have done exactly that. Like you say, I'm not going to pronounce that they're going to win the Super Bowl, so you might be on your own next week, Paul. But I think they could quite easily make a run, couldn't they? Let's face it. You know, if everything goes their way, they could make a run. But it shows that they are not kind of, you know, unbeatable.
Yeah.
You know, and from teams that we know aren't necessarily that fabulous. So, you know, once they get into the playoffs, likely someone could beat them. But I guess the question is, can they kind of play their best game to win? And I think if they play their very best game, they have a chance of beating anyone. But it's how they come out on the day, you know, and whether they can be exposed for their weaknesses that they have. So, you know, I totally agree. I don't think we can be saying, da-da, Super Bowl champions, like maybe we might wanted to have said at the beginning of the season, but I'm still quite open-minded that they could potentially get to that game for sure. That's my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So shall we have a look at our chat about our game of the week? So as we can tell from Mags's excitement, it's none other than the Chiefs versus the Chargers. And of course, the Chiefs managed to sneak past the Chargers with a 30-27 win. So this was actually one of my games this week. And I predicted that the Chiefs would win, which was correct. But I did predict that Kelsey would have less than 1.5 TDs, which was incorrect. What a fail. Yeah, he managed to get 3. And to be honest, had I known that Juju was definitely out, then I may well have kind of changed. But it is what it is. I've not had the best week with my predictions. But come on, I've got to turn it straight over to you, Mags, the Chiefs fan. Tell us what your thoughts were on the game of the week.
Yeah, this was really, really good. I watched this. Paul's going to sleep. I watched this this morning, just on catch up. Obviously, UK time was on very late. And yeah, just what a great game. It was weird. No matter how far ahead the Chargers got, no matter how much the time ticked away, I was just like, if you give that ball to Patrick Mahomes and it's a one-score game, you're going to lose, because he just is incredible. Like, even without Juju, with MVS kind of limping about, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire invisible and injured, and you know, you got Isaiah Pacheco, who's, you know, just fine, like no real running game. He always just seems to find a way. And actually, you know, we could talk about Mahomes and Kelsey all day, and I know you guys have got some notes on them, so I'll let you cover it. I would kind of like to talk about a few of the unsung heroes, especially Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's got better and better and better every single game he's played for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, you know, he is a real good asset to have in that team, you know, that defense that's obviously led by, you know, Stone Cold Chris Jones, who's just, you know, we talked about Aaron Donald earlier, obviously. Chris Jones, you know, he's right up at the top of that division with Aaron Donald in his position. I mean, just a brilliant, brilliant player. Rex teams. People are so afraid of him. Just, yeah, absolutely love that performance from the defense. And I said at the start of the year, it might take a couple of weeks for Steve Spagnuolo's defense to kind of warm up, because that's generally what happens. And I think now we're kind of seeing that, like, a name you haven't heard a lot this year, for good reason, is Trent McDuffie. He's the rookie cornerback. Nobody's throwing the ball to him because people are too afraid to, which is amazing to have one of those lockdown cornerbacks. So he's someone that I've really liked watching. And the less you hear his name, usually the better. He's a bit like Patrick Surtain over at the Broncos. Like, you don't really hear Patrick Surtain's name much in the game because everyone's too afraid to throw at him. So Trent McDuffie's kind of doing that same thing already in his rookie year. So big shout out to Steve Spagnuolo and their defense. And of course, I mean, Mahomes and Kelsey, we forget about it. What a duo. Like, just, I think the best duo in the NFL right now, right? Well, Allen and Diggs, Mahomes and Kelsey, take your pick from those, right?
So for those who watched on the live stream, if you see my arms up there, I have got the Wales game on in the background, and Wales have just scored, so it's 1-1 now.
Nice.
Our first World Cup goal.
I thought you were a big fan. I thought you were a big fan of Chris Jones, because when I mentioned Chris Jones, you were like, "Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Chris Jones, mate, best Chiefs player going." I've got the Wales game. I've muted it, so but yeah, so Mahomes and Kelsey. Okay, it's starting to get as tedious as Brady and Gronk. Yeah. I know. I said it. It is getting that way. Mate, I've said this on this show before. You know that guy that wears 87? Yeah, in the red zone, mark him, okay? Because Mahomes is going to throw him the ball. And mate, consider this like Taysom Hill, okay? Taysom Hill comes on the ball and he's going to take a snap. He's going to run it, okay? No matter what, he's going to run it. And the only person that spotted that, Hannah, is Eli Apple, okay?
That's right.
He's the only person that spotted it. And somebody needs to go, what are the Chiefs going to do in this? You know what? They're probably going to throw it to 87. Okay? That's who they're going to throw it to. How about we block him? Yeah? How about we stand near him and not let him get the ball? But they still don't do it. It just baffles me on how they still can't do this. But the next thing is, it hurts me to say this, but I feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is done in Kansas.
Yeah.
And I planted my flag in him this year, and yeah, rest in peace. R.I.P.
You two are doing terrible with your flag plants.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. Just because you're doing well with yours, yeah?
No, mine are both on IR, unfortunately, but hey, we won't talk about that.
It's a good job we don't talk about fantasy, right? but yeah, is it me, or do the Chargers always seem to step up against the Chiefs? Mm-hmm. I don't know if maybe there's some kind of big rivalry, but it just seems like the Chargers somehow, they come up against the Chiefs and all of a sudden they look like this different team. Mm. And they look the best that they have done all season. And again, it's against the Chiefs. So I don't know if they have a bit of a team talk and go, right, it's the Chiefs, we've got to step up now. The rest of the teams, they're not bothered. I don't know. But it just seems like they do. And the Chiefs have been trailing at halftime this season in 4 games.
Yep.
And they're 4-0. And Mahomes is 13-7 in games that he was trailing at halftime. Now that is impressive. That's impressive. Out of 20 games he's been trailing at halftime, he's won 13 of them. Like you said, give him the ball with time on the clock, and he'll make magic happen. But yeah, I thought it was a good game, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, you two have pretty much covered everything that I was going to say. Chargers looked much better this week than they have for the last few weeks. Don't know whether that's because Allen was back. Obviously, Mike Williams came in and then went out quickly again. But just kind of knowing that Allen's that threat there might have just kind of got them going a bit, which was good. You obviously have got on your soapbox about Kelsey Paul. My one soapbox thing about Patrick Mahomes is you should never give Mahomes the ball with any time left on the clock in the game. Why would you give him the ball with 1 minute 30 to go? We saw him last season. What was it, 13 seconds?
13 seconds.
So, like, why? Just why? You know, I don't know, run down the clock. Don't throw that long kind of throw to Alan. You know, just go down the field slowly. Don't give him any time to go back. But no, they did. And look what happens. Like, seriously, when you're playing Mahomes, you do not give him the ball back. Surely everyone knows this. So just really quickly before we move on, I have one really quick question for you guys. With the way that things have been going for the last few weeks, do you guys think that Patrick Mahomes is currently the clear MVP?
Yeah, I think he's certainly got to be the running favorite. Tell you who's a sneaky candidate for MVP, and you might not expect me to say this, but it's Tua Tagovailoa is a sneaky MVP candidate. But yeah, Mahomes is the favorite, I would say.
Yeah.
Paul?
So Mags is down there. So if I cover his face, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, unfortunately for Josh Allen, he's again been trying to do a bit too much last few weeks, hasn't he? And I think he's kind of pushing himself down a bit. So for me, for Tua, like, yes, he's playing brilliantly, but I do think a lot of that is about who is around him rather than him in himself. I mean, I think Mahomes has to be above Tua there. Doesn't mean he's not going to end up kind of in the race, but it's Mahomes, isn't it? So our current prediction scoreboard, Mags, you had a perfect 4 for 4 this week, which leaves you at the top of the leaderboard with 31 in total. I actually did the worst this week, only getting 2 correct, which was a bit rubbish. I'm currently 29. And Paul, you beat me this week and got 3. Excellent work. But unfortunately, still only at 21. So you're still buying the drink.
Told you. Got you right where I want you.
So we have to say one more thing, right? So you hinted at this right at the beginning of the pod. And we've kind of stopped asking the last few weeks because we never win anything. But finally, in week 11, we managed to get all of our winners for our games correct. So tell me, Paul, did we finally win some money?
Yes, we did. The Rewind tour is happening. We are now £23 richer. Skadoosh!
So it'll only be another 11 weeks, which will be next season, before we manage to win again.
Yeah.
How much is a megabus, right? We can get a megabus somewhere, right?
Like a quid a ticket or something. You know what I mean? We're
down the road.
We're going to get a day out somewhere and just get a coffee, like, you know.
That's great.
So great news. We've got 23 quid in the coffers. So let's have a look at our hit rewind moments of the week. So go on, Mags, let's start with yours.
Mine had to be one of my favorite players in the NFL, making history. Cordell Patterson breaking the NFL kickoff return record. I mean, he just actually fumbled the ball like the play before that, so he was kind of pissed, right? And he was running angry. I mean, the guy's a machine. He's done that 9 times now. He stands alone ahead of everybody else on kickoff returns. Yeah, history in the making for, a player with such a cool career, and I'm so glad that he's finally getting his moment to shine the last 2 years. So yeah, Cordell Patterson making history with another amazing kickoff return. That was my hit rewind moment of the week.
Yeah, and mine is, I've just gone off it now. Mine is the Buffalo Bills attempting their first 2-point conversion this season.
Oh yeah,
and it, not only the play, but it was the fact that week 11 was their first attempt at a 2-point conversion. And I thought, nah, surely not. Surely they got this wrong. But no, that was their first 2-point conversion, and they gave it to. Was it? It was McKenzie, wasn't it? They gave it to McKenzie. It shouldn't McKenzie, and he was running, and John Johnson III, this guy, just went beast mode. He had Reggie Gilliam already trying to block him from getting there. He got past him and run and hit on the line to stop the 2-point conversion. I was just like, wow. This guy, John Johnson III, has a great name for one. Okay?
Yes.
but he just went full beast mode. I know he didn't win in the game or anything like that, but I just love the fact that he just went, do you know what, mate? No, you're not stopping me and you're not getting past this line. Good on you, mate. And I actually had to rewind that to watch it again. So, yeah, that was my hit rewind moment.
Shame he didn't win in the game though, right? Mine is actually from the Bears Falcons game, and it was, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, it was the Cole Kmet one-handed catch while being taken out kind of at the legs by the DB. He kind of managed to grab it and scoop it into his body. I thought that was awesome. And I really enjoyed watching that and rewinding it a few times. If you haven't seen it, anybody, go and take a look. It was pretty good fun. So let's get to our rapid recap, best of the rest, and have a look at the rest of this week's action. So my first game was the Lions versus the Giants. And surprisingly, the Lions kind of pummeled the Giants, really, 31-18. And the game started the way that I thought it would. The Lions only get a field goal. The Giants kind of go down the field, get a touchdown. The Lions go 3 and out. And then all of a sudden, Aiden Hutchinson, our guy, he gets his second interception of the season, and it changes the whole game.
Yep.
The Lions actually played pretty well on defense and managed to bottle up Saquon, who we know is pretty much the flagship player on that Giants offense. If you can get him going, you can get everything going. But they managed to stop him and the run game, and they actually managed to have a run game of their own. As we know, Jamal Williams getting 3 TDs there, and I think he has the most rushing touchdowns this season, which I think coming into the season, none of us would have guessed that it would be him. So, you know what? Good on the Lions for winning there. Daniel Jones was a bit kind of carefree with the ball and did have 2 interceptions. And prior to this, he'd only had 2 interceptions a whole year. So I think we need to keep an eye on him. He needs to start taking care of the ball because we know he's got previous issues there. So I'll be interested to see how things go for the rest of the season. Because I think if he gets careless, they're going to be in trouble. But one last thing, good on Aiden Hutchinson, really getting into it now. He's got his second interception. He had a pretty good fumble recovery as well. So keeping my eye on him.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually thought that when he got the interception, because it was you that had it as your rewind moment when he did it against the Packers. And I seen it, and it was quite a similar one. And he read the play and just went up, and I was just like, yeah, that was a great moment. But yeah, I had the Falcons and the Bears. Finally, I got to watch a game with some points, some touchdowns. I actually really, really enjoyed this game. It was one of them games where you just kind of you're just enjoying them just go end to end and battle it out. You know, Cordarrelle Patterson. I know you've already mentioned it, Mags. This punt return was his 9th of his career, which I believe is the most by anyone in the NFL ever. And it was his 7th career touchdown over 100 yards, which I thought was madness. Absolute madness, to be honest.
That is crazy.
But yeah, the other thing that I've got about this is the Kyle Pitts injury. I think as much as I've said that Kyle Pitts has not been great, I think the Falcons struggled without him on the pitch. And I don't know if it's more that he draws people to him and it opens everything else up. But once he was gone, I kind of feel like the Falcons didn't really get anything going. And I believe he's got an MCL tear. Is it a tear? So he may miss a bit of time. I wouldn't like to say how much time, but he's looking like he could miss some. And I think the Falcons may struggle without him on the pitch or the field. But another crazy stat for you is Justin Fields had his 5th game recorded with 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown, which he has tied with the longest streak. Do either of you know who holds the record or who he's tied with? For 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown 5 games in a row.
Lamar Jackson?
I'm going to say Cam Newton.
Ooh.
No, you're both wrong. It's future MVP Kyler Murray.
Obviously.
No. Whatever.
But yeah. So if he does it again next week, then which is highly likely, if I'm honest, then he will hold the record for the most consecutive games with a passing and rushing touchdown.
Wow.
Yeah. Mags, what you got for us?
I had a pretty good game, the Bills against the Browns, where we had, 50,000 Bills fans traveling over to Detroit. That was pretty impressive. It's a pity the Bills fans suck, right? Those guys are the worst. I was reading like some Twitter comments when they were losing, and they were just also bitter and like angry with his team and like criticizing Josh Allen and the coaching. It's like, guys, like, you are one of the best teams in the NFL. Like, chill a little bit, will you? But they were horrible. And then even after the game, they were like, oh, it's about time they started throwing the ball to Diggs, and like Sean McDermott getting all this abuse. Sean McDermott is one of the least praised coaches in the NFL that runs one of the best teams in the NFL. So for him to get so much abuse from those fans, that sucks. The Bills fans suck. I don't like them. So, but yeah, the Bills won. It was a pretty good game. But yeah, I wasn't happy for their fans after that. Hannah, what did you have?
I had the Commanders beating the Texans 23-10. Well, there's not a lot to talk about apart from the Texans suck. They're terrible. And Mills is definitely losing his job to the best QB that's coming into the draft in 2023, 100%.
Yep.
Heineke has this YOLO style of playing, which seems to be working at the moment and is great fun to watch. But I think he's going to get into trouble at some point soon. And I think the Commanders' defense is looking pretty good now.
You see that power bomb as well?
Oh yeah.
See the guy got power bombed in that. That was always my rewind moment of the week. That was cool. Well, dangerous, but kind of cool.
Yeah, it's all right. I had the Raiders getting a win against the Broncos. But first of all, breaking news. I don't know if you've seen it. Melvin Gordon has been waived.
The rage drop from the Broncos.
Like, you know what I mean? That is like a fantasy manager going, I don't want you on my team anymore.
Yeah.
It's dropped, and it's just like, you've got this. Oh, there's nothing there. What have they got to replace him? You know what I mean? It's just, but that's it. They've got Chase Edmonds, and you're just like, huh? At least keep him till the end of the season. You know, I know there's not much left of your season, but at least keep him till the end of the season. So I didn't get that, but this was nearly my rewind moment. I know it's not a single moment; it's more a set of plays. But 1:27 on the clock, and Derek Carr marches them downfield to score 3 points, then goes into overtime, and then he needs 3 plays to march back downfield. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I was watching these Raiders going, oh, why haven't you done this the rest of the season? You know what I mean? Why have you not been asked to play some American football, But yeah, it was an all right game, this one, to be fair. Russell Wilson has I've seen a stat that says he has more toilets in his house than he has passing touchdowns this year. Which I thought was hilarious, to be fair. Okay, so I'm going to leave this game at that.
Yeah, one of my notes about Russell Wilson was I've seen Matt Ryan move faster than Russell Wilson this year, which is absolutely crazy. But I had a really weird game. The Vikings getting absolutely crushed by the Cowboys. Weirdly enough, the Vikings didn't exactly play like terrible. The Cowboys just nailed everything. Every single player on the Cowboys played better than every single player on the Vikings. It was really, really impressive to see. All these guys, Parsons and Zeke and Pollard all played well. I think I have a new nickname that's going to take over the NFL. You ready? Right? So you have great nicknames. You have like Megatron and Nitrian Lane and Beast Mode and Honey Badger and the Bus and the Fridge. Micah Parsons' nickname, Laxative, because he makes everyone shit themselves. Right? That's going to catch on.
Why do I feel like we've just got the name of this week's show as well?
Micah Parsons' Laxative.
Parsons' Laxative.
That's because, Kirk Cousins was literally shitting himself. Like, he was spiking the ball just as Parsons, twitched. So, what a player. Just unbelievable. Hopefully he's not too hurt. I see he got an injury, so hopefully he's not too hurt. But yeah, if the Cowboys play like that, they're going to win the whole thing. They were unstoppable. Unstoppable. So impressed with them.
Yeah, interesting to see over the next few weeks whether they keep up that momentum. So let's take a look forward to week 12 and start with our Thanksgiving game. So 3 games on Thursday this week because of Thanksgiving. So
Yep.
Paul, we'll start with you and the first game, which is going to be the Giants versus the Cowboys. So tell me who wins, and will Saquon Barkley have over or under 0.5 touchdowns?
The Cowboys maintain the winning record and win this, and Saquon Barkley goes in for a touchdown. So, Mags, your first game is the Patriots versus the Vikings. Who wins and who has more rushing yards? Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson?
I think the Vikings will bounce back here, and it's just a tricky one. It could go either way. I'll stick with a hot hand, which is Ramondre Stevenson for now. Hannah, we'll go for you. You got a great game, Bills against the Lions. Can't wait for that one. Who's going to win? And do you think Jamal Williams is going to continue his touchdown streak?
So I'm going to say a Bills win. Seems logical. And at first I was going to say no Williams TD, but I think some of the Bills defense is still going to be out. So I'm going to say yes to another Williams TD in this one. So Paul,
I'm smelling an upset there, by the way. I think
probably. On to the next set of games. Paul, your second game is Chargers versus Cardinals. I was nice to you. So tell me who wins and who has more all-purpose yards, Justin Herbert or Kyler Murray?
I love the way that you think you're nice to me by making me actually watch the Cardinals play and lose. You know what I mean? If Kyler Murray starts, I kind of feel like we could get the win. Cardinals win. Back your own team. And I'm going to say Kyler Murray.
I mean,
I'm putting faith in my team. My team are going to take me to 4 points this week. Max, your second game this week is the Buccaneers versus the Browns. So, who wins this game? And Bucks over under 20.5 points.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I'm going to go with the Bucks to win, although I don't feel good about it. I actually think the Bucks will win and score under 20.5 points. I think it might be a low-scoring affair, but maybe that's also me kind of hedging my bet. So if they score under, they'll probably, I don't know, I might get 1 out of 2 there. I'm hoping for. Hannah, for you, you got the Raiders against the Seahawks. Who's going to win? And Max Crosby, absolute animal. Max Crosby, maybe Defensive Player of the Year, even on that terrible team. Do you think he's going to lead the game in tackles?
So I'm going to say a Seahawks win. I think they bounce back. And I'm going to say no for a Crosby leading in tackles. I think he's doing an awesome job, but I'm going to say one of those safeties, someone else going to get the most tackles on that game. So another great week, and that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Wildcard Rewind, and head over to YouTube, search for the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast Network. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we can't wait to see you in week 12 when we rewind all of the best games and everything around the league. See you next week.
Take me back to the sun.